Good afternoon. Are we awake? Are we all real? Or are you virtual? I thought the after lunch spot would be a graveyard shift. It turns out not because you're in a food coma, but because I'm after Gary. And when you learn that Gary's a hologram, it becomes even more impressive. Fantastic job. Why don't we start with this video? Firstly, to get the blood pumping, and secondly, to get you working. So, I'm going to break it up a bit, make this interactive. We saw a lot of footage of sport, a lot of footage of fans. Now I'm going to put a question to you. And I want you to turn to somebody nearby, next to you or behind you, in front of you, preferably somebody you don't know, and just talk for a minute or 2 minutes and see if you can agree. We can't always agree in racing, I've discovered. See if you can agree what the top 3 sports in the world are by fan base. So what are the 3 sports that have the most fans in the world? Go. 60 to 90 seconds. Okay, I hope that was enough time. Now I want you to stand up, just to get the blood moving. Everyone stand up. So, question 1, what's the most popular sport in the world the sport with the most fans? Somebody, anybody? Soccer/football, football for Victorians, soccer. If you didn't say soccer, you can sit down. I think everybody's still standing. Okay. Number 2, what's the second biggest sport in the world by fan base? Said basketball, sit down. Sorry, you're wrong. Hate to break it to you. Okay, next guess. F1. Good guess, Drive to Survive, good show, sit down. Another one. Tennis, sit down. Who needs you? Cricket was the answer, which Jamie Barclay, former CEO of the SCG Trust, knows very well. So if you said cricket, you may stay standing. If you didn't say cricket, you may sit down. Anyone from Indian racing here today? You're sitting down, what are you doing, man? 18% of the world lives in India and they love cricket, so that's number 2. Okay, for number 3, I'm going to flip it around. So the survivors, I'm asking the survivors. Did any of the survivors say racing? If you said yes, you may stand up. If you said no, you may sit down. And I just want to say to the people who sat down, you're at a racing conference. There are 700 people who have flown from all over the world because of the status of Victoria as a racing jurisdiction and because it's the first boondoggle post-COVID. And you disloyally did not choose racing as the 3rd biggest sport in the world. So that's what I want to say to you who sat down. To those of you standing up, I want to say, I'm sorry, you're wrong. So you may sit down as well. So, racing is not in the top 3 sports in the world by fan base. And in fact, it's not even in the top 10. So for those of you who had other guesses, tennis and basketball and so forth, they're all in the top 10, Formula 1, they're in the top 10. Racing is nowhere to be found. So when you talk about fans, and fans pay the bills in all sports, directly or indirectly, racing is not in the top 10 sports in the world, which tells me that we've got some work to do. So, when you think about fans, let me ask you the question a different way. You'd say, how could racing become the most popular sport in the world? Does anyone think that's possible? Put your hand up if you think that's possible. Seriously. Okay, there's a handful of people who think it's possible. Most of you think it's not possible. Most of you would have thought it was impossible to start the biggest company in the world 25 years ago, but that's been done. And the title moves around between oil companies and digital companies, but Amazon was and has been the biggest company in the world. And they got there, obviously a lot went into it. Internet, I think that's going to be big. But they did it through one core principle. And Jeff Bezos put it this way, he said, we should wake up in the morning terrified. Terrified. Not terrified of our competitors, and I'm embellishing this bit a little bit, not terrified about our regulators, not even terrified of our colleagues around the Racing Australia board table. We need to be terrified of our customers. And I would add that we need to be terrified of those who are not our customers that we want to be our customers. And I don't know about you, but I found Gary's presentation pretty terrifying because I did not identify with any of that. And as he told us, they're the people that we want and need to become fans of racing in the future. Otherwise, as various people have told us this morning, our fan base literally will die. We're all going to die, bad news, but we need to refresh our fan base to keep racing relevant. And how do we do that? Well, we've got a challenge to overcome, and it's a challenge that every sport faces. And I call it the insider problem. All sports are run by insiders. All sports are run by people who like the sport, right? And that's normal, that's natural. You need people with a passion for their job. But it creates a problem. The people who are inside the sport have already voted with their feet in their careers that they like what the sport offers. And they also spend their lives and working weeks talking to people inside the sport who have also voted. So I say this a lot at work. It's like asking people in a French restaurant if they like French food. Of course they like French food because they're in a French restaurant. It's not about asking people what their favourite type of food is. And if you ask people what their favourite type of food is, French might make the top 10, it might not. But it's unlikely to be French for an awful lot of people. So we need to get past the insider problem, which also makes things difficult to change, along with the fragmentation, and say, right, who are our customers and what do they want? And that's the most obvious principle in business. Who are our customers and what do they want? But it's often overlooked. And we forget in racing that it's not our fans' job to like what we offer. It's our job to offer what our fans want. So I'm going to say that again. It's not our fans' job to like what we offer. It's our job to offer what fans like. And we might think we're doing a good job, but remember, we're not in the top 10 sports in the world. So there's work to do. So you go, okay, well, how do we give fans what they want? Well, first of all, you've got to understand who they are. And obviously, they vary widely by age, by sex, by demographics, whatever. But they also vary by the stage of their journey in racing. And there are 300,000 Australians turn 18 every year. The numbers will be different in every country, but if you take your country's population and divide by about 75, you'll get roughly the number. That's how many people turn 18 each year that can bet legally. And we've got to give them a reason to watch and engage and bet on racing. Otherwise, they'll just bet on soccer or cricket or any of the other top 10 sports in the world. And I can tell you, coming in from the outside, racing is very, very complicated to the outsider, as cricket was. We went through a very similar thing in cricket. So we've got to understand that racing is well understood by insiders. We understand the complexity of racing, of weight for age, of benchmark 58, of furlongs, of the complications of silks. Why aren't they just standard silks like greyhounds? Why are they all different? Where's my horse? We understand that stuff as racing insiders, but people who are new to racing, the 18-year-olds and Gary's mates, the Bored Apes, they don't know what we're talking about. So we've got to understand, we've got to bridge the gap from our old fans to our new fans. We need to meet their needs. And so how do we meet their needs? Well, let's look at 5 critical areas of racing, and I won't bore you to death, although by sharing the depths of my knowledge. Actually, my knowledge of racing is not that deep, so I'll keep it quick because I'll get to the bottom quite quickly. But I'll share 3 points under each of 5 headings. So let's think about our racing product. Let's think about our media product. Let's think about our wagering product. Let's think about our live event experience. And let's think about our social license or our social product, if you like. Racing product, what do we do well? We put on races. We do really well putting on races. In Victoria, we put on 8,000 races a year. What do we do badly? Formats and series. We don't explain what's going on. There's 8,000 races. What am I watching? Who are these people? Who are these horses? Why are they here? We've got a huge opportunity in racing to improve our formats and by creating what every other sport in the world does, which is series leading into grand finals. And Jamie Barclay is going to talk to us about the Everest shortly. That's an example of what I regard as a really good format, although it could probably benefit from a better lead-in series. The All-Star Mile is a great format, which we shamelessly ripped off from JRA, which has been doing the Arima Canen since the 1950s. A fan-voted format, good format. Champions Day is a good format, big success for us last year. Why? Because it had 3 grand finals, 1,200, 600, 2,000 metres. Very easy for racing fans to understand. And again, as we heard earlier today, it turned what had been the sort of the rump of the Flemington Carnival Stakes Day into a really special day for us all. So formats and series, we can do a lot better at. Time slots, we're participant driven. Racing people get up early, so we like to race during the day. But the day is when normal people who punt on racing are at work. Racing is what they watch when they come home to relax. So we need to race at night, we need to race later in the week, and we need to race Saturdays and Sundays, and then our people can have Mondays and Tuesdays off. And if the reason that we don't want to do that is because people wake up too early, the solution is start later, not finish earlier, because we've got to meet the needs of our fans. So on the racing side, we've really got to look at our formats, and we really need to look at our time slots, and then we really need to look at the characters in the drama. So we need to promote the stars of the show. Every TV show, movie, play in the world has recognisable characters. You've got to know who you're watching. You've got to know who the jockeys and trainers are. The horses don't talk, but we can do a better job of showcasing them as well. That's the racing product. We've got the media product. Omni-channel. You've got to reach the customers where they are. So at Racing Victoria, we distribute through Channel 7, Sky Channel, our own TV station, radio, digital. We stream directly to your phone. We stream through all our major wagering partners. Our strategy is, however you want to consume our racing, we'll give it to you in that format. So omni-channel is really important. Differentiated offer, so you can watch Sky wall to wall with Adam. You can watch 145,000 races, well, there's a lot anyway. You can watch in-depth coverage on Victorian racing on racing.com, or you can watch a mix of Sydney and Melbourne on Channel 7. So omni-channel's really important. Again, that format is important, and then who we see on screen is really important. Eddie Maguire talked about it before. The people on screen needs to reflect the audience you want to attract, and we're getting more and more female presenters and younger presenters on television, which is really positive for the sport. But we also need people who look like the audience we want to attract, and Hollywood's just figured this out with Black Panther and all the, I guess, more ethnically diverse casts they're putting on screen now because they want to attract a broader audience. It's taken them 100 years to figure out, but they finally figured it out. So that's really important. Wagering formats. We need simple bets as well as complex bets. I'm not going to give wagering people a lecture on wagering, but again, new people to racing don't know what a quinella is. They don't know what a trifecta is. They don't add any of this stuff. They also don't understand, why should I bet on the tote? Why would I bet on a product where I don't know the price? Why would I do that? Is it cheaper? If it's not cheaper, why would I do it? Okay, I can get different bet types. Great. Well, give me a reason to do that. Give me a lottery bet type. Give me a bet type where I can win $5 million for a $1 bet or a $5 bet. Make it more like a lottery rather than win $5 if I bet $5. So tote's got to differentiate, I think. Tote v fixed odds, and we've got to offer fixed odds in more places around the world. And social. Social's been a big source of growth, obviously, in Australia. Bet with Mates, we call it, or bet with, it's got various names. Bet with Mates is the pioneers. So social bet types, again, differentiating. So that's wagering. Live events, Jamie's going to talk about live events, but again, we've got to make it it's hard to get customers out of the house, off the couch post-COVID. It's hard to get them out of the metaverse, it turns out. It's hard to get them out of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Let's make it easy for them. Admission prices, dress codes. Why do we need a dress code? Why don't we just let people wear what they want? People figure it out. If you want them dressed nicely, charge $20 for the champagne, they'll figure it out. Kudos to the Jockey Club, great job. Let the customers wear what they want. No one rings up a restaurant and demands a dress code, they just wear what they want. We don't do that in racing, I don't know why. So make it easy, and then again, how we portray the people who go to racing in our advertising. We need to portray who we want to attract, and we do a really mixed job of that. All right, last one, and then I'll shut up. Social license. Okay, three key points on social license. We look after horses for a living. We need to get that message out. We deal with Muppets in Victoria called the Coalition for Elimination of Racehorses. They want to save racehorses by getting rid of them entirely, by getting rid of the money that feeds them and reducing the population by having no racing. That doesn't make any sense to me. Our business feeds and looks after races for a living. We've got people who get up at 3 o'clock every morning to look after horses. And would you do that if you hated horses? That'd be stupid, wouldn't it? Would you get up at 3 o'clock every morning to look after animals you don't like? Why would you do that? We look after horse racing for a living. We've got to get that message out there. Second thing, and Martin spoke about it earlier, we deliver a massive amount of economic value, directly in jobs, indirectly in taxes. Hong Kong Jockey Club builds all the parks and gardens in Hong Kong, as well as half the hospitals and schools. So that taxation and community contribution element is really important. And the third thing we do, and this in our in draconian COVID existence, we forget about this. Racing's fun. We actually deliver pleasure to people on a daily, nightly, weekly basis. And that includes punting. And that's okay. It's okay to have a punt. We should lean into that. There's a bunch of wowsers, particularly in Australia, who want to tell you what you can and can't do, particularly what you can't do. I'm yet to receive a list from them about the 3 types of fun that I'm allowed to enjoy for the rest of my existence. I like punting. Why? Because I don't know what's going to happen. Yes, it costs money. So does going to a restaurant. So does buying a coffee. So does buying a car. Of course it costs money. That's okay. I earn money by working in racing, and then I invest it in shares, and then I spend it on punting and other things that I like to do, golf, etc., etc. So it's okay for people to punt, and we need to own that. Yes, we've got to help problem gamblers deal with their issues, and the WSP is doing a great job of that. We've also got to lean in and say, listen, it's not a crime to enjoy your life, people, and in racing we offer 5.5 of the 6 things that people really like. They like eating, they like drinking, they like dressing up in clothes they feel comfortable with, they like watching great sport, they like punting, and they're really hoping they're going to meet somebody that day that, you know, later on, who knows what could happen. And they're punters too, so there's a 50% chance of that. They'll wear a tie if it helps. And that brings us back to the start. Racing actually has a great starting point. We offer 5.5 of the 6 things people basically like. If we get more segmented about our customer base, focus on introducing the new generation of young people who would otherwise be attracted to bet on sport, explain racing to them and present it to them, whether it be the product, the media, the wagering, the live event, or the social benefits of racing to them in a way that makes sense to them, then we too can be in the top 10 sports in the world. Thank you.